was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie, please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom, boom. I hear it and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. Welcome to Peace with Penny. I'm Penny St., your host. Today's episode is part 2 of our 4-part series with Hands of Peace. It is a deep dive into conflict resolution. We will be speaking with Israeli, Palestinian, and American high school students turned peace activists who just finished the Hands of Peace Summer Camp 2022. But first, let's review what Hands of Peace demonstrates to the youth. What is possible?
How far will you go to step out of your comfort zone?
Will you go across the world?
Down the street?
Or will you go to the ends of the earth?
To stare in the face of conflict.
To be heard. To be seen.
To raise your voice.
To tell your story.
To listen. To hear.
To really hear.
How far will you go?
To laugh.
To cry.
To connect with the other side in a way you never thought could happen.
How far will you go to smash everything you could have known or believed into little pieces?
In pursuit of what's possible. How far will you go to take a step forward to lead?
Because if we keep doing things the same way, we'll get the same outcome.
How far will you go to take the ultimate action for peace?
I was 14 years old when I first heard of Hands of Peace. It was the first time I heard the other side of the conflict. It opened a route in my life that is still going on today. So in 2018, the situation in Israel was that every few weeks we heard on the news about domestic violence, about a woman who got murdered by a husband, by a brother, by a member of the family. So we open a Facebook event calling all women to demonstrate and to protest. In Rabin Square here in Tel Aviv, there were 30,000 people. Hands of Peace showed me that it's possible to create a dialogue and to find a way together to change reality.
And I think for me, going through Hands of Peace was like standing through a mirror, because I could really, for the first time, hear myself talk out loud about things that I cared about. I've been involved in Hands of Peace since my first year summer there, 2004, and I feel I haven't stopped being involved ever since. I've been facilitating for Hands of Peace. I facilitated regional meetings here and summer programs in the US for the last 3 consecutive summers. I feel that my choice of medical school was also related to the fact that I want to make a positive change in the world, and that was also part of the reason I joined Hands of Peace. I think going through Hands of Peace taught me that in order for things to change, we have to be active about it. I feel it's part of one family that we're all working to do something different. If it's in the US, in Chicago, San Diego, or here in Tel Aviv, Ramallah, wherever we are, we're trying to make a positive change.
Many Americans see Hands of Peace to be only a summer program, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Hands of Peace is a spark. It's an inspiration, right? It's a call to action to go on a journey. For me, the journey that began with Hands of Peace is one that will continue for the rest of my life. And think about how I can be a change agent. I went to Georgetown School of Foreign Service. I studied Arabic and international political economy. So I ended up writing for Forbes, the Foreign Affairs, the Atlantic, on pieces on how we were going to resolve Syria's hunger crisis or Yemen's water crisis, etc. So one of the things that I had done since business school is actually go to the Gaza Strip, where I served as a volunteer startup incubation boot camp instructor. Hands of Peace has made it possible for me to truly be a global citizen. What you have to do is look at the change that we're all producing in our own communities, in local organizations, things that are just less visible on the international stage. That's where the change is really happening, and what Hands of Peace encourages you and actually gives you the responsibility to do. So each and every one of you are vital to creating that safe space for our participants to take a leap of faith, to have the impact that they're destined to have in this world.
These first-year high school students that are called HANDS are Israelis, Palestinians from the West Bank, and Palestinian citizens of Israel, who normally don't speak, and many consider the other enemies. What was it like suddenly interacting with perceived adversaries on a daily basis across the ocean far away from home? What did they learn? Did their feelings change about the other? How did the American students feel seeing the conflict verbally unfold before their eyes? Did they wonder what they'd gotten themselves into and want to go back home? Hands of Peace empowers American, Israeli, and Palestinian high school students to become agents of change. In this episode, we speak with 4 first-year campers who just completed their 2022 3-week summer peace camp in San Diego, as well as listen to the impact of the camp on our additional attendees. How is the camp organized? Each summer, Hands of Peace brings American, Israeli, and Palestinian youth together in Chicago and San Diego for a 3-week experience. The youth are assigned to one of 4 delegations: Jewish Israelis, Palestinian citizens of Israel, Palestinians from the West Bank, or Americans. In mixed dialogue sessions led by professional facilitators from the Middle East, the teens learn about the other, They share complicated and sometimes painful stories about the conflict and explore peaceful solutions to foster equality, freedom, and justice. It's not an easy process to go through. These are top students, a combination of intelligence, openness, curiosity, reflection, and the desire to help. This next generation provides hope to us all. The participants stay with host families in the local areas and are provided a homey atmosphere, forming friendships that can last a lifetime. After the summer program, they're encouraged to join the 750 Hands of Peace alumni for additional engaging leadership experiences. For the first time, these teens heard narratives that are unfamiliar. What is the painful reality of the other? What was it like speaking to who they were raised to feel were their enemies? Even hear horrific stories of atrocities committed by those they previously viewed as heroes. What was it like during May 2021, sleeping in the bomb shelters because of the missiles exploding above them and being scared to walk down the street for fear of a terrorist attack? What's it like to live a reality where everyone knows people have been killed or injured during bombings? You'll see throughout our time together, for the teens, we don't show their video. However, we have indicated their first names, delegation identification, and religion to help you follow who we're speaking with. It's a crazy world out there these days, and combined with anti-normalization demands, we thought it safest to do the episode this way. Thanks for your understanding. Next, I'd like to introduce the 4 hands that I interviewed. First is Amalia. She is a Jewish Israeli girl who's 16. She was born in Tel Aviv and now lives in Herzliya. Amalia just spent 3 weeks of summer 2022 as a first-year hand for Hands of Peace at their Chicago camp. She has an older sister and twin brother who also attended Hands of Peace. In Israel, her life is very different from most Jews because where she lives, being Jewish is the majority. Welcome, Amalia. What is it like growing up where Jews are the majority?
I mean, I don't actually think about it all the time because it's pretty obvious now, but there's times when, I mean, it hit me when that I have privilege, but it's not always been like this, and it's not everywhere in the world. I mean, when I go to Europe with my family, they tell me not to speak Hebrew loud and not to wear anything with Hebrew on it because we don't want to draw the heat on us. And I mean, when we talk about I don't know, in school when we learn about our history, I realized that, I mean, me being here, it's not like obvious, and I should really cherish it. I mean,
Basma is a Muslim Palestinian citizen of Israel and is almost 18. She should be congratulated as she just graduated high school. She is taking a gap year. She wants to work and travel to get to know herself better before starting college. School when she was younger was rough. Did you like school?
Kinda, not really.
Kinda, not really, because
Well, in 4th and 6th grade, I was bullied, so I decided to go to change a school when I graduated. I wanted to go to in the middle school. I wanted to go to Haifa City, to learn there, which
and
is
may I ask why were you bullied?
because I spoke differently than the kids in my school, because I was really tall for a 4th grader. They say that the building was really bad or stuff like this, but and yes, they did demolish it. But they put it in another bad building right now. So my mother decided to move us out of that school and get us in a better school, so we wouldn't have to sit like take a year gap out of school.
Well, that sounds definitely problematic for a young
Yes.
kid. That's kind of sad. Yara is Christian and also a Palestinian citizen of Israel. She is almost 16. She attends a private Catholic school. Her grandparents live in the West Bank.
It's called Beit Hanina, the village that I live in. Usually go to West Bank, like we go several times a week because we want like to visit our grandparents, grandmother, and like aunts and all of them. It's really hard for them to come here because they need a permission, and like it's not easy to get the permission. So it's easier for us to go there because like I have the identity, Israeli identity. So it can allows me like to go there and like to get back, but like it's not that easy because sometimes at the checkpoints they stop us and they are asking us, oh, what were you doing? Can you like they check also the car, can you open the door, can you open like everything, so they can check. So yeah, and sometimes like we wait for like 2 hours so we can pass like over the checkpoints because like there is a lot of traffic there. That's why.
Dahlia is American and a Palestinian. She also has graduated and is starting college this month. Dahlia has an interesting story about growing up in Chicago and then moving to Arkansas.
I moved around a lot during my life, but I would say kind of the bulk of my childhood was spent in like a suburb of Chicago. Those were kind of, I would say I was maybe around, I was from kindergarten to about like fourth grade. So I would say like pretty formable childhood years I spent in the suburbs of Chicago. And something about that was really important to me was a lot of my family lives in Chicago, big communities of my family, not just my own family, but also kind of other Arab people, not necessarily like Palestinian people like my family and I, but just other Arabic people, other people of diversity. And so it was nice to just be surrounded by people like myself, but also people who are understanding and, you know, different from me. And then when I moved to Arkansas, I was around 12 years old. Sorry, I have a bird. I was around 12 years old when I lived in Arkansas, and the community was completely different. It was very, very small. First off, everyone knows everyone, and it was the kind of space where if you didn't know them since you were in kindergarten, you were not one of them. And so kind of to like ease into that transition of living in a new place, my parents really wanted me to assimilate just for my own, you know, safety and well-being, and so that I wouldn't have a hard time in school. And so part of assimilating into that new community was like assuming their own identity. Like I felt like I wasn't myself. I went to a Southern Baptist Christian school, and so, you know, during school I attended prayer and mass, and I took religious class, Christian class during school, and that was required. So I kind of had to be something that I wasn't. And the other side of that was there would be like discrimination if you weren't like them.
Why was the choice of that school made? Was that the best school around or something?
Yeah, my parents, they wanted me to go to a private school because some of the neighboring schools, they felt that I wasn't ready for such a big environment, such a different transition, and they felt that this was a more controlled environment. And so and this was the only like private school near my home. So
now let's get into what brought them to Hands of Peace. How did you hear about Hands of Peace?
So I was kind of looking for something to do during the summer, like a summer program, and a lot of my friends did camps and sports, and I don't know, I wasn't really looking for that. And so I kind of wanted something, I knew I wanted some sort of like peace program and involved with other people. And so I just started Googling online, like peace programs online, and I saw a couple of them. There was one that involved, it would be me going overseas to Palestine, Israel, but I don't think I was ready for that. And so when I saw Hands of Peace and saw that it was kind of a similar idea, but in a setting that I'm more familiar with, I kind of decided, okay, I think this is for me.
I know your sister went, but
yeah,
what attracted you to it?
Well, I some kind of a bubble when, like I said, not everyone, but most people think the way that I do in the area that I live. And I go to a school that has specific opinions. And so I wanted to know the other side. And I wanted to like change my perspective. I want to be able to hear the news and doubt about what they say.
Why did you decide to come to Hands of Peace?
Because I wanted to share my side and to hear other perspective, and I wanted to get a chance to raise my voice, and because I know as a Palestinian citizen of Israel, I don't really get the right to talk about Palestine and to talk about what I think and what I fear, and, or talking without fearing that I'll be arrested or that something really bad would happen to me only because I spoke my side. So this is one of the main reasons. uh, One of the participants actually said it's like I was living in a pink bubble, and when the Palestinian talked about their stories, they just popped it for me, and I'm not in it anymore. This is one of the main reasons I came to Hands of Peace, and I also wanted to, if we look outside the dialogue, we are really friends. We don't care if the other person is Israeli or Jewish or Christian or atheist or anything like that. And inside the dialogue, we would fight, we would scream at each other and things like that. And
Really?
outside, we're our friends. Because if we leave these things behind us, we can see that we are actually peaceful and we are humans, we have our needs, and that we can live together.
What did you hope to gain by going to Hands of Peace?
Oh, first of all, I really wanted like to know more about like the Jewish people, like the religion. I really like, because I don't know much about it here. So I was really interesting like to go and to know more about the religion. This is the first one, and the second thing, I really wanted like to see their perspectives, their own perspectives. How do they think? How do they think about Palestinians? How do they think about Israel and Palestine together? If they really want peace together, and all of these stuff. So when I got there, it was really good thing. And for me, I really wanted like to send them a message about our like. I want them like to see the truth that we actually live, not only on social media that they all of the world see it. And
Daily dialogue sessions is core to the Hands of Peace mission. It's challenging and transformative. You may hear comments that upset you, like when I heard the Israeli Defense Forces or IDF referred to as IOF or Israeli Occupation Forces. Boy, the groups interact in a safe environment led by professional facilitators. The discussions
stories
get more emotional.
Someone sharing a personal story.
So
And
why would that make somebody angry?
because they don't see it that way. Uh the Israelis would justify what the IOF do.
Uh-huh.
And us as Palestinian, we would justify it what we do. So everyone has a different opinion, and the Americans would just hold up a second. I'm here, I'm seeing the two sides, and I would be in the middle. They don't really live the conflict as we do,
Yeah.
and they would justify some of the things that the IOF do and some of the things that the Palestinians do.
Yeah.
But as a Palestinian, as someone who lives the conflict every day more than the Israelis do, because the Israelis have more power than we do, it gets really emotional because I'm seeing my brothers and sisters in the West Bank and them sharing their stories. I feel that I have more privilege than them because I still have the Israeli nationality. But
Right.
at the same time, I don't really have rights as the Israelis have, although I am considered Israeli. And saying that to other Israelis, uh, so they wouldn't agree with me. No, like we have all our rights, governments give you rights, and a lot of things. Yet at the same times, I would see my people getting arrested, getting harassed, and and stuff like that in the West Bank, that would be really emotional for me. That would get emotional for the whole group.
And so when it was like the first day of Hands of Peace dialogue, it was really awkward for me because I felt like I didn't know how to contribute. And I think a lot of the other Americans shared the same sentiment where we just did not know what to contribute because, when people are sharing a very personal story and then the only thing you can think of is like a news article that you read from, a few years ago, like it just, the weight of it just doesn't feel like it compares.
Yeah. Were you hearing some intense stories on both sides?
Yes, especially during May 2021 with what's in Israel, there were a
Yeah.
lot of personal stories from both the Israeli kids and also the Palestinian kids.
What were they like? Like the Israeli kids, what were they talking about?
They were talking about how they just never really experienced what it was like to like live in constant fear before, and how they were in constant fear, how middle of the night rocket alarms, siren alarms, and have to just drop everything and find a shelter. And a lot of the people who were saying that they just felt really scared, and then also in the aftermath of that, they felt maybe not safe walking in the streets and being attacked just for being Israeli by a Palestinian who might feel anger towards the situation, doesn't know how to react, and takes it out on an innocent Israeli. So that was kind of a lot of the stories that the Israeli participants shared.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. That was, I tell you, as I say, I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son for his bar mitzvah present there, to war. Because, it's a Jewish parent kind of standard that we want our kids to identify with Israel. So, what's a common thing to do? Well, you take them to Israel. Oops, the timing was a little bit off. And there's nothing like being in a bomb shelter that gets your attention with the missiles going off, and it's not a pleasant situation. And so what were your Palestinian friends talking about?
They were talking about very similar situations, but on the flip side on it from their perspective, a lot of so the interesting thing about the program was that there were Jewish people, no, there were Palestinian people who are citizens of Israel, so they lived in
Right.
Israel, and so a lot of what they would talk about was they would feel racism and prejudice from Israelis because a lot of Israelis associate Palestinian people maybe with Hamas and not knowing when to separate, a terrorist organization of like Hamas from innocent Palestinian peoples who are just, living their life. So a lot of Palestinian participants shared that, during the aftermath of May 2021, people would be shouting death to Arabs in their neighborhood. And rocks were thrown at their cars, and they were scared to go into the street and go to their car and just kind of go in public places. And participants who wore the hijab were like, we're scared, we were nervous to go in public, scared to go in public because we don't want people to, think of us as terrorists or think of us as threatening when we're not. So those were kind of some of the experiences. And then a lot of the Palestinian participants, they know people, they have friends, they might have family in Gaza, and so they were just really, really scared for their family members because a lot of the civilians of Gaza, they don't necessarily have the resources for bomb shelter and protection, and the government that runs that area is not necessarily looking in their interest and to protect them. It's all what's war and it's political for Hamas, and they're not taking care of the people.
Right. What would you say after going through all that, because dialogue's such a big part of it, what impact did that have?
I would say I felt like there was humanity added to the conflict, whereas beforehand it was just numbers and people in, articles and newspapers, and I didn't realize that, people live it on the daily, but they don't just live it, like it occupies their lives, but they don't let it occupy them. Like a lot of the people, they're after, a missile attack or having to go hide from a rocket, and like, okay, well, were you scared? Like, what do you do after that? Like, how do you continue with that? And they're like, well, we just do. Like, you just go out and you, like, you live your life, and yeah, there's this conflict, but like it doesn't consume them. And then another thing that really kind of touched me was how I was genuinely surprised at how the Israelis and the Palestinians could be friends, because I just know that for a lot of them, the conflict is really, really personal, and it has, touched them all in their own ways, but they're able to kind of separate that, we are people, we are humans, and this is a conflict it's not really their fault. Like, they didn't do anything, neither any Israeli or Palestinian, like it's not in their hands. And so kind of learning how to deal with the conflict without putting blame on just like your friend or your neighbor, that was kind of a big impact on me.
Yeah, I'll never forget. So when you're in a bomb shelter, so they say that you have to stay there for 10 minutes until the shrapnel. What happens is the Palestinians send the missiles and then Iron Dome. You've heard of Iron Dome? So it goes and it blows up the missiles in the sky. But you have to wait 10 minutes until all the shrapnel and all that falls to the ground. And in the bomb shelter, then we were in a bomb shelter, and an Israeli businessman, a minute or two after the bomb exploded and stuff, he just left. I said, "Where is he going?" And they said, "Not everyone stays." I guess psychologically they have to block it out and learn to move on. But man, I stayed every second of the 10 minutes. That was that. I don't know. Well, I don't think I could live there because I got raised on too much chicken soup. I was, and that's probably why I spent the last 8 years working on this, because it impacted me so much. It made me want to work on peace, which is not at first. The first thing when you're in that situation, you want to retaliate. I'm looking at my baby. Well, he's 13, but to me, he's 21 now. He's still my baby. But in his eyes, and the bombs are going off, and Mama Bear was mad. But I'm the kind of person, I get guilty if I step on a bug. So when I got my head back to reality and to how I usually think, then I realized Palestinian parents want their kids to play safely in their backyards too. So that kind of changed my whole life. Changed my whole life. So what were the camp dialogue interactions like? I've heard they can get pretty intense.
Yeah. At first, we actually it was really simple at first, and like we didn't talk about like a lot of things. But then we had like the same discussions as we are having right now. Like it's similar to it. We talked about Shireen Abu Akleh, we talked about settlers, and we talked also about personal stories that happened. We heard from the Israel side, and we heard from like Palestinian sides, and we talked about a lot of things together. We talked about missiles, and we talked about rockets, and we talked about the rights, like the rights that we do have, like Palestinians, and the Israeli rights that we do have. And we talked about a lot of things, and sometimes we talked about personal stories, even though if it is not like from the conflict, it happened to us, like we talked about it. So it was actually like a therapy for us, because we had the opportunity to talk about everything in our mind, we like without being scared or like anxious, nervous. Like we had this opportunity, so it was a really good thing. And I actually I experienced this thing. This was like my first time So I was really happy. And as I said, like in dialogue, sometimes like we do have like touch between us, because it's a normal thing. But like the funny, or not the funny part, but like the good part is like when we go out from the dialogue, like me as a Palestinian, like the Jewish people, like we talk together normal, like nothing happened. So that was a really good thing. So we can like put like a thing. Oh, that's in dialogue, and that's in like normal life.
That you can agree to
Separate.
disagree and
Yes.
still be friends.
Yes.
During the dialogue, those are, I mean, you've got Jewish Israelis and Palestinian citizens of Israel and Palestinians from the West Bank and American Jews and Muslims and Christians and Jews and all that. And so what were those experiences like?
It was so interesting, and I feel like I learned a lot, because I think we can learn a lot about the people through their beliefs. Said that it was amazing experience, and I just want to do it again.
What did you learn from your fellow participants?
More what I feel. I feel like I miss them, and I feel that in 3 weeks I got super connected to them, and it's making me feel like get decisions differently than I used to make. And this is what I wanted to give them. I didn't want them, I don't think I came back different than like I think differently, and I doubt a lot of stuff that I came naturally before, but I still believe in the army, and I still, I don't know, still believe in my country. But I just know there's different, I know there's a different reality over there in their side. So when a week after we got back, there was a small operation in Gaza. It was tense all over again. I mean, we had to go to the bomb shelters, and it was only a week after we got back. So I didn't just thought about myself and my family. I thought about them. I mean, my friends in the West Bank.
Right.
And it's hard. It was hard, and my friends didn't really know how to talk with me because I'm too emotional. But I mean, I think it's for the best. I mean, I think we need to think about the other side too.
Host families are integral to making the camp possible. The families take the teens into their home and they become part of their families, often forevermore. Let's hear how the host families connected with their wards. What was your relationship like with your host family?
Oh, I love them so much, and I miss them every day. And the thing is that my roommate, the one who stayed with me, she's in my classroom, and she heard about Hands of Peace through me. Yeah, and no one knew we were friends. They just put us together.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I see her every day, and we talk about it every day, and we send them pictures, and they send us, and I miss them a lot.
Did they have other kids?
No, they weren't in home. I mean,
they're older.
Yeah, they're older. Yeah.
So were they like grandparents to you?
Yeah. They want us to call them grandma and grandpa. Yeah. They were so sweet.
Your host family, what was that experience like?
That was an experience. It was the first time that I had ever really stayed with a family that wasn't my own. You know, I've done sleepovers and stuff, but like I've never lived with a family that I've like never known before. The interesting thing about the family that I stayed with was I was kind of confused how they heard about Hands of Peace, because they didn't really know much at all, if anything, about the conflict, and they just kind of, I don't know how they heard about it. They heard about it through a friend. They're like, okay, well, we'll try something new. We'll try it. They're very open-minded people, they were kind of hippies. They were cool.
What religion were they?
They were, I would say, they were not, I know they weren't, I don't think they were Christian, but they were like spiritual. Like they were just very spiritual people, not necessarily a specific religion.
Uh-huh.
And so I think they were just really, really curious and excited about the experience. Like I would come home every day and they would like tell me everything. I think they genuinely wanted to learn more about the conflict because they didn't really have a connection to it before and they really didn't have much previous knowledge. Whereas other host families were either, you know, Jewish American host families who were connected to the program through that, or their own children went through the program, and so they've just been doing it for years. So I think that's where my experience differs a little bit, where my host family was kind of, they were random a little. They didn't really have kind of a connection to Hands of Peace.
Did you have fun with them?
I did. They were fun people.
Did you meet your host family online before you went?
Yes, we did. We opened, as I said in the header, we opened Zoom meeting with my mom and my sister and with them, and we talked together, and we got to know more about each other, so they can know me more. And yes, we talked a little bit, and we also like texted each others before like coming there, and they were very excited like for me like to come there, and they were
Right.
like, oh, we were waiting for you, and come on, yes, and this stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I was really happy seeing these messages that they are really exciting like to seeing me. I didn't have any problem. I chose like any family I can have.
Uh-huh.
And
Did they specifically want you to be with a Jewish family or
I
in
don't think
general?
so because like another friend like Palestinian one was with like a Christian family, so I don't think it was as like specifically like oh, Jewish American because you are Palestinian, like this stuff. They were like doing this randomly.
Yeah.
But like I don't have a problem to live with them. They were really nice from. That was like at first it was really hard for me because I didn't have roommates. So I was alone, like with my host dad and host mother. So it was like really hard. Oh, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to talk with them? You know, like this is like the first thoughts that I think about, that I thought about it. But like when I got like through this experience, I really loved this, and I didn't have any problem that I don't have roommate at first. Like at the beginning, actually, I did have, because like it's a really weird thing. Like, what should I talk about? You know, but like when I like got through this experience, they were really nice to me, and I really loved them. And yes, we do have like a really like a good relationship between us. So that's like the first part. So I was really happy. And
have you stayed
then
in touch?
Yes, we are and I told them about you. Like I told them, oh, I'll like I was here. So they were really excited for me, and they encouraged me and like this thing. So I really do love talking to them. And oh, my host family, we went to the old town together, and also we went shopping because I really love shopping.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. All you kids want to go shopping.
Yeah. Yes, we did. And I told them, especially I want to go to Sephora. So one day, like we only went to Sephora, like to whole shop. So it was really interesting. And then Old Town, and then we went to a lot of restaurants because before I come like here, like to San Diego, I heard a lot of about like fast food and this stuff. So I told them before I came. So like when I got there, like the first night, I remember like we went together to a restaurant so I can try new things. So every time they tried their best like to be happy, and they talked to me, and like we always like were sitting together and like do some schedule, like what should we do. So it was really interesting. And we went also to Balboa Park.
That's very beautiful.
Yes, it is. We went many places together.
What was your favorite thing about the experience?
Besides traveling to the USA and meeting my wonderful host parents, I mean, I got to live with people that they don't even know me. They just opened their houses to us, and they were like a real family to me. The host sisters, they were like real sisters to me. The host parents, they were also super amazing, and they were so comfortable, so comforting to be with them, to be in their house and actually feel like home. And one of the wonderful things that I got is to actually make friends besides our thoughts about the conflict, beside what we think about it, beside what we want uh, our land to be. That we can actually speak and talk about other things, even though that we have a lot of different and extreme ideas about the conflict and stuff like that, which we came to discuss. But hey, we are friends. Although we don't think the same things about the conflict.
What kind of places did you go with them when you had your
A lot
host
of
family
places.
days? Yeah,
We went to La Jolla, we went to the San Diego Zoo. A
that's
lot of
very nice.
We went to Cars and Coffee. We went to a lot of amazing places.
Yeah, yeah. La Jolla's beautiful. What religion was your host family?
Oh, they were Christian.
What do you think you learned by attending Hands of Peace?
I learned a lot of things. One of them is no matter how hard it is to hear the other person's perspective, we have to do it and to actually respect them while they are saying that. And we shouldn't cut their boundaries, we shouldn't go over them, and that there could be change and there could be peace if we give each other space to talk and to speak what we want to, and to actually get that fact inside your head that each person's perspective is really different than yours, and that is really okay to have different perspectives.
There were so many fun activities, including the ropes course, cultural night, and a special trip to the Mexican-California border. Let's listen to some of their reactions. What was cultural night like?
Oh,
Mhm.
I think the Israeli people they did shakshuka, which is an Arabian dish. They see it as their culture, but it's an Arabian dish. It's from Morocco. And we as Arab, we kind of got mad at this because they said it's Israeli. It's like, we are Arab, it's from our culture. How can you say that it's Israeli? This is one of the things that we had like a conflict about. And the Israeli didn't like that we waved the Palestinian flag, yet, and they were mad. When we were in the dialogue, they were mad at it that we had the Palestinian flag and we raised it, and that we sang our national anthem. But well, we can't change our national anthem, and we showed our culture. We had a Palestinian wedding. Um, so we showed a part of it. We showed our national anthem. We showed our flag, because our flag it has a really big part of the Palestinian history, and every color resemble something from the Palestinian history. So we felt that we should show it, because in our weddings we always sing about Palestine in the Palestinian wedding, and even in the grief moments we sing about Palestine. A lot of our songs, they talk about Palestine, so it is unseparate from our culture. Our flag is unseparate, although the Americans waved the American flag. The Israelis that they were with us, they were pissed that we had a hold, because they think that we were extreme about it and that we didn't come for peace because we had our flag. So Culture night for me, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, at the same time, we knew that some of the things wouldn't, some of the things that we did, that the Israelis wouldn't like that, and we
Yeah.
know that some of the things that the Israeli did about the food that we wouldn't like either. Uh, but we actually really liked their sketches, also the American sketch. A lot of things we really liked. We really enjoyed preparing for the culture night
Mm-hmm.
because for me, I live in Arara, near Haifa,
Mm-hmm.
near Haifa and Nazareth and Afula city. So yet one of the most of the participants are from Jerusalem. Um, and so we are really separate and we make things in a different way than
Mm.
one of the and some of the participants are from the West Bank.
Oh.
So every even one dish we make it in a different way. So I
Mm.
make it in a different way than the ones in Jerusalem. The ones in Jerusalem makes it a different way than the ones in the West Bank. So we had to agree on a way to make the same dish.
Even
So this is
amongst yourselves, huh?
yes, even amongst ourselves. So it was really good to even get to know our culture more.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
it was really amazing.
Can you describe your trip to the Mexican border, what that was like?
Yes. So I had never been to the border previously. And you know, in your mind, you have this kind of image of just like massive wall all across the Mexico-US border. And yes, that is true in some parts, but then you get to Tijuana, where we went to, and you see like this wall. And on our side of the wall is just like plain, it's just deserted. Like there's just grasslands, there's nothing really there, there's no homes, nothing. And then you look on the other side of the wall into Tijuana, and like there's a beach, there are homes, there's life all up until the border. And so we talked about that and kind of, you know, what that, you know, meant. But then the real experience of the border, and I think this is something that took everyone by surprise, except for the Mexican students. We had students from Mexico join us that day at the border. There was a woman who, along the water, into the water is the wall. The wall extends pretty significantly into the water. And so a woman was like scaling the fence and like coming into the side of the United States. And a lot of people were confused, especially a lot of the Palestinian and Israelis were like, okay, like what's going on? Like we didn't know if it was, a lot of people thought it was kind of like not a joke, but like they didn't really think it was serious. Like this was
They
like, oh,
couldn't think it was reality that
yeah, like this doesn't seem
what's going
real.
on.
And so like a lot of people saw her, you know, she fell a couple times, but eventually she made it over. And when she got onto the stand, like a lot of people in our group were like clapping because they were like happy for her because they thought that she like made it. Like, oh, you made it into the United States. You're free, you're welcome. And then like immediately like helicopters and, you know, SUVs with Border Patrol came, and, you know, she kept running. And it was a really emotional, kind of very sad thing to see. And a lot of people, we asked them, we talked about it afterwards. We were saying like, did you guys really think that she would have like made it here? Like that she would have gone to the wall and been, you know, she would be free to like be living in the United States. And a lot of the Palestinians, they said that they kind of sympathize with her because they too faced walls in their own life, and how like even just climbing the border, they felt that was steps, you know, that was steps for a better life for her. And so I guess that might be reflective of how the Palestinian participants, you know, face walls in their own lives. And, you know, a checkpoint might be a wall for them, or, you know, not being able to cross into different territories. They understand what that's like. So they had a lot of sympathy for the woman too. And same with the Israelis and the Americans. Everyone felt for that woman who tried to, you know, make a better life for herself, but just they couldn't.
It was really wonderful to meet the Mexican people. And we we have a common thing with them. It's the border between Mexico and the USA and the border between Palestine and Israel. That is what we have in common. So it's like I felt that we have something in common. Yeah, at the same time, can't really compare the situations.
Right.
Because it's really different. Yeah, we do have something in common.
What did you think when that woman swam and tried to, well, did come over and then got arrested and all that? What?
Well, that woman is really, really brave. And she did remind me of the Palestinians that tried to come here. And I'm pretty sure she got to a really hard point in her life to get away from her family, from her friends, from her life in Mexico, to come here with nothing, not even a bag with her. Uh, she just was wearing clothes and that's it. Her clothes and that's it. For her to come, to leave her country, to come to the USA, it was really hard for her. She got to the point where she said, well, what is gonna happen? What if I'm gonna get arrested? I don't really care. That's what I think. That a person who has a really hard life, this is one of the reasons why she came to the USA, because she wanted to seek asylum or something like that. So I really saw that she had a really hard life for her to leave her country, to leave her family, to leave everything behind her, just go to another different place where we don't know if she even knows English that good. To so it was really hard, and I see that she is really, really brave.
Who just finished the Hands of Peace Summer Camp 2022 and were invited by Pastor Bostrom at Christ Presbyterian Church to reflect upon the impact of their experiences. The students learned that listening is at least as important as speaking.
Hello everyone, and before I start, thank you all for having us here and for making this opportunity, for giving us the opportunity to be here and talk. Me, a Palestinian Muslim living in Jerusalem, I heard about Hands of Peace from a relative who talked to me about it and convinced me to join. I like the idea of the program because there is no other program in which Israelis, Palestinians, and Americans can come together to talk and discuss about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and other worldwide problems freely without feeling pressure or scared. Here, everyone feels safe and feels like they're home because everyone is living together in peace and harmony with love. Overall, as a first-time participant, I had a hard time at the beginning. It was hard to accept the idea that I was put into such a situation where I have to talk freely and openly with the other side without having any problem. I was scared to talk because I didn't know if what I'm going to say is acceptable or not. As fun and exciting the program is, of course there are still these moments where we find ourselves crying, screaming, and having hard times. But all of the moments, all the good and bad moments that we went through until now are what got us closer to each other and created those unbreakable bonds between us. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting the program, for making it possible for us to be here, and for helping us learn and know about the other side perspective in order for us to make a change in the future and create a path for us to walk on.
Hi, my name is Annie, and I'm from Los Angeles. I'm the daughter of 2 immigrants. My dad is from Israel, and my mom is from Ukraine. My family is Jewish, but I don't consider myself to be a very religious person. Yet, being Jewish is an important aspect of my life and my history, which is why I am so interested in discussing issues related to Judaism. As I previously mentioned, my dad is Israeli. Up until last summer, I had never visited Israel and did not feel a strong connection to the land and its people. However, after exploring Israel on a month-long program for high schoolers, I realized how important Israel is to me as a Jew. I also realized that Israel plays a huge role in many other people's lives, which is why I decided to apply to Hands of Peace in hopes that I could learn more about the significance of the land to other people. I'm here because I believe that the Jewish people have the right to live on the land of Israel. I recognize that there are many issues surrounding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and most importantly, I believe that the only way to better understand one another is through dialogue that promotes respect, understanding, and peace. Even in the United States, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict affects my life. When the May 2021 clash between Israel and Hamas occurred, I experienced rising levels of anti-Semitism in my community. I saw post after post, story after story on Instagram, spreading misinformation about the conflict on both sides. I heard my classmates discussing the conflict with no other knowledge than what they read on an Instagram infographic. I saw swastikas spray painted onto synagogues and watched the news in terror as LA's largest synagogue became the place of a hate crime and the death of several Jews. I realized that if I wanted to be able to have serious discussions about the conflict, I would have to learn more about each side. This realization is what inspired me to join Hands of Peace. Going into the program, I hope to share my point of view as a Jewish American who also happens to be half Israeli, and why I believe Israel is so essential to the Jewish people. Since then, I have met Jewish Israelis, Palestinian citizens of Israel, Americans, and Palestinians from the West Bank, who, like me, all have an opinion on the conflict. They have taught me that this issue is far more complex than facts and figures. There are real people who live real lives that are affected by living in a war-torn area. They have told me heart-wrenching personal stories about how the conflict affects their daily lives. They have also made me realize that although we may have differing opinions inside the dialogue room, that does not mean that we cannot still be friends. The most special moment of the program to me thus far occurred during the ropes course that we all completed a few days ago. We were all put into groups of about 7 to 8 people from each delegation and told to rely on each other to get to the end of the ropes course, which I might add was at least 30 feet above the ground. There was a moment when everyone in my group was holding on to each other to make it across 4 thin, tightrope-like wires, when I realized that a Jewish Israeli was holding the hand of a Palestinian, who was holding the hand of a Jewish American, who was holding the hand of a Palestinian American, who was holding the hand of a Palestinian citizen of Israel. I stood there for a moment, shaking from my fear of heights, but feeling so much joy and gratefulness that we have the opportunity to build these connections when so often they are discouraged and frowned upon simply because we come from different places with different ideologies. I think it's remarkable that we have the space to really get to know each other as people, not as sides of a conflict, and even become friends. This moment taught me that at the end of the day, we're all human, and this is something we have in common, despite all of the things we may not. What has surprised me the most during my time at Hands of Peace is how welcoming and loving this community is. I feel so safe and understood here, and I want to say thank you to my fellow participants, my facilitators, my chaperones, the program directors, my host family, and the entire Hands of Peace community for creating a space where we can all feel comfortable being ourselves. I also want to thank Christ Presbyterian Church for welcoming us into your community and showing me how a different faith than my own practices their beliefs. I feel so lucky to be here with all of you, and I'm excited to continue the program, learn more, and get to know everyone better. Thank you.
I'm Rana. I'm a Palestinian Christian from Holy Land, living in Haifa. When one of my teachers happened to mention Hands of Peace, I immediately knew that I wanted to be a part of it, because I believe in the power of youth. We are tomorrow's leaders. It is up to us to form the bridge between two nations which have been taught to mistrust one another. We, the youth, are seeds of hope and love. In order for these seeds to grow and be prosperous, they must be watered. Watered by hearing each other and approach one another with loving attitude. And this is what Hands of Peace does. I've been a participant in this program for 2 weeks now. I've heard personal stories from each side and was able to see the human and vulnerability in each side. I was able to transcend the inherent sense of prejudice we humans have towards one another. Today, we are all united under the roof of this holy place and blessed by its Holy Spirit. First of all, I would love to thank Father Greg and all the church staff for welcoming us, the Hands of Peace participants, in this service. We are honored to be here. I am glad to witness this wonderful moment, where teenagers from different sides of the world and different religions are sitting here for the sake of spreading love, peace, equality, and faith. As Jesus Christ said, "Love one another as I have loved you. أحبوا بعضكم بعضا كما أحببتكم أنا." Jesus' love for us humans is immeasurable, unconditional, and limitless. At the time where we live in a world where there's so much hate, we must remember these words: to spread love instead of hate, to spread peace instead of war, to spread tolerance instead of revenge, to love one another, unconditional love, exactly as Jesus loved us. May God bless you all.
Anything that surprised you?
A lot of things surprised me. I think I knew a lot because my sister was there, so it's not the same to hear it from her and then hear it from other people.
Right.
A lot of stuff. I don't think I knew what Zionists mean to some Americans. I knew the Palestinians think Zionist is a bad thing, but I didn't know the Americans do. I mean, the Americans that I talked to, my host family and the participants. Yeah, but
could you define what you think Zionist means?
I don't know what Zionist mean. I know that I'm Zionist, and I know that I define it as someone who loves his country and wants to live here and think if it is connected to the country, not in a religious way, but historical way. And I just feel like because I love my country, I need to change a lot of things about it. I don't think I go blindly about what a country tells me to, but I think because I feel connected to it, I want to change stuff.
Do you see yourself differently?
I can say yes. Yes, a little bit, yes, as I said before, of the reasons. So yes, like it really helped me with a lot of things. So yeah.
Like?
And yeah, like one of the things, like in dialogues, like how should I like not being scared with my own thoughts, and how should I like say it like without being scared, without being anxious, without being nervous, and like to face everyone. And even though if we don't have the same perspective or the same opinion, so we have always like to talk together, so we can maybe like end up with the solution together, because like not we don't have like to fight, so we can go to a solution. So that like every time like when we hear like as a Palestinians, we hear like they are only enemy, or like they are like they will attack us, or like we will have a fight together every time we want to speak to them, or like we want to talk to them. So when I got there, and like I really liked them, and we really like we really were really close friends and this stuff. So I really enjoyed this. And when I came here, like I told you, I was in a camp, YMCA. So that really helped me, because they were like a lot of kids and counselors also Jewish. So that's really helped me. So like it was it was easier for me, because you know, it's not it's not always a easy thing to do, like to be like a friend with someone that you know that one like you know, at 18 in our country they have like to go to the military. So yeah, and that was one of the things that we discussed. That one we told them that we are really scared, like sometimes like we will be at the checkpoints and you will be standing there. So can you imagine like the thing that we were together like for whole like a month, like a month, yes,
Mm-hmm.
together, and like we talked about a lot of things that now you are standing on the checkpoints. So we
So
we
would
talked about this, and
that would make you feel more comfortable.
maybe I'll be comfortable, but like for sure I'll be more sad, like because you are like my friend, and now you are like the enemy for me because now you are against me. Like because you are checking me, you want to check me, like because you're at the checkpoint, and like one day you were my friend, like one of the closest friends. So that was like one of the things that we talked about, and we said like it will like be really hard for us to see them like as a soldier, not as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Although some Israelis, I'm sure you heard, end up doing kind of social work, not even like they're in the military, but they're not, with guns and all that.
Yes, they told me maybe they will be in the office, like instead of
Yeah,
being like in the
right,
war and this stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Or I know I talked to somebody who was working with kids
Mm.
in in a Arab school, so to help the kids. So you never know. It's interesting in the Israeli army.
Yeah.
They do a lot of different jobs, not just
Mm.
soldiers with rifles and checkpoints. Do you feel differently about the whole conflict now that you went through Hands of Peace compared to what you did before?
I think going into the program, I was I wasn't necessarily well versed on kind of what Israel meant to other, Jewish people and to Israelis.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really understand, or I didn't, it's not that I didn't understand, it's just I had never met an Israeli person before. So just kind of hearing an Israeli person's perspective definitely adds a new layer to my own opinions. And then also just kind of seeing or hearing Palestinian perspectives too also change things for my opinion as well.
What do you think you learned by attending Hands of Peace?
I learned a lot of things. One of them is no matter how hard it is to hear the other person's perspective, we have to do it and to actually respect them while they are saying that. And we shouldn't cut their boundaries, we shouldn't go over them, and that there could be change and there could be peace if we give each other space to talk and to speak what we want to, and to actually get that fact inside your head that each person's perspective is really different than yours, and that is really okay to have different perspectives.
Do you think peace is possible?
I think maybe not in our lifetime, but I do believe that we can make peace in our lifetime, and I think we should try to do it every day. And I believe we can live together. Yeah, I do.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Peace with Penny and learning about conflict resolution undertaken by these brave high school students at Hands of Peace. We'd like to let you know that we'll be off for the next 2 weeks due to the Jewish high holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We'll be back on October 11th when we'll publish the 3rd episode in the series of Peace with Penny with Hands of Peace. We'll be speaking with some alumni over the past 20 years and see for ourselves how Hands of Peace impacted their lives. During the break, we hope you take advantage by catching up on any Peace with Penny episodes you missed on our Peace with Penny YouTube channel or at www.penny.com under podcasts. Thank you, and may you live in peace, shalom, and salam.